Is Cate Bichara. I work for Sky Guide. I'm also head of inclusion and diversity there, and I've been doing quite a lot of work on psychological safety. And so the idea today is to take you through I would say the what and the why, or rather the why and the what of both of those aspects. Right, so as we said, inclusion and diversity, and then moving on into psychological safety. The idea of this workshop or masterclass will be that you have an understanding of why we need inclusion and diversity, what it does actually bring to the company or to the organization, what it is as a business essential, and what inclusion and diversity are, and then some ideas on next steps. So to start off with, I would like everybody, now how many people have we got in the call? If people could say, if they own a dog, could they put their hand up? Okay, thanks. You can lower your hand. And if you went to the seaside last summer, could you put your hands up? Okay, and if you own a red car, could you put your hand up? Okay, this is just a little bit of an explanation to say we are all different. We're all diverse. Diversity really is a fact. And we've got to deal with it in everyday life. Everybody is going to be different from someone else. Now, using the chat function, could you, in a word, say what inclusion and diversity actually mean to you? Right, I don't know how far we've got there. Have we got some words, Claudio? Being a presenter, I can't really see.
Yep, we have equality, welcomed, different but equal, accepting that we are different even if we don't understand why.
Great. That sounds wonderful, because I say diversity is a fact, as we saw. We are all different, and inclusion is an action. It's something that you choose to do. It's not something that necessarily happens all by itself. So we'll be looking a bit more into that. But maybe now, in a word, why do we need inclusion and diversity? What's important? What makes it important for organizations? Nadia, just give me a sign when we've got some things in there.
Oh, I think everybody's thinking. You can see everybody's thinking face on, like, really, oh. Reflect society, get different perspectives, to perform better, ideas. Trying to do this in one word. It is a difficult one, I'm not going to lie.
Yep, okay, fair enough, fair enough. Well, maybe let me give you an example. In 1969, the first man landed on the moon. In 1964, when John F. Kennedy launched the program with NASA to send someone to the moon, there was a race to the moon. They were going to get there before the Russians. There was quite a lot of pressure. And he walked around NASA one day and saw a janitor, probably cleaning out a toilet or something, and asked him what he was doing. And the janitor turned around to him and said, "I'm putting a man on the moon, sir." Now, that is an it's an example of how included everyone felt in that team. The whole of NASA knew they were putting a man on the moon. They felt included. It was something that they were going to do together. That is a really good example of inclusion, of feeling part of it. I'm not going to comment on the rest of the way NASA was managed in those days. It was very much a function of the times, but this gives you an example. Another example is if someone is colorblind, and now I'm taking a bit of a chance here because approximately 3% of the population is colorblind. So there may be some people who can't see the difference around this virtual table. But if you look at the numbers, and it could be a pie chart, it could be anything on the left and the ones on the right, how much information does someone who is colorblind lose? how many barriers have they got in their way that they've actually got to focus far more and look more closely to the numbers and not see the heat map itself. So this is really another example of how inclusion or exclusion can really be a barrier to somebody performing well. And so now, why we need it? Well, we've got some statistics. The Harvard Business Review says that inclusive companies are more likely to lead and capture new markets by about 70%. That's not marginal, that's quite a lot. 43% of companies with diverse management exhibited higher profits, according to McKinsey & Company. Again, McKinsey says that with racial and ethnic diversity, 36% are more likely to outperform their peers, and 87% are better decision makers than individuals. And that comes from People Management, another publication. I have loads more statistics to show you, and Claudio has the presentation, so he'll be able to share that part with you as well. But just to give you an idea, it's about performance, but it's also about getting different perspectives. It's about understanding different ways of things. I could also give you another example. If you can imagine a Toblerone. Now, I work in Switzerland, I live in Switzerland, so Toblerone is one of the things I see regularly on the shop shelves, and I try to avoid very much, certainly eating it, but nonetheless, got a box of Toblerone pointy chocolate, and there's a competition on the box, and the competition says, scan this QR code to win. Great, so I open the box of chocolates, and I eat the chocolate inside, and then I want to scan the QR code to participate in the competition. And oh, but the little tab to open the chocolate box has gone right through the QR code. Oh dear, so now I can't participate. Now, obviously, Toblerone, I'm pretty sure, didn't put the competition out there just for the fun of it. They want to get data on their market, they want to get buy-in, they want to get people to buy more chocolate. They've probably got a whole load of reasons to do this. So why didn't someone put their hand up to say, well, there's something that's wrong here, the packaging doesn't work? Maybe someone did, I don't know. I've been trying to get hold of Mendelez to find out what really happened, and they haven't answered me. But what happens if someone did put their hand up and they weren't listened to? They weren't included in the conversation. They were maybe too lowly. Just things to think about. Here it's about winning or not winning a box of chocolates, but it could be down to quite a lot of other things. It could actually be safety related. If someone puts their hand up and is not listened to, what does that mean in a safety critical environment, such as aviation? So another third question for you, which is what makes, again, in a word, better teams and or better performance? We've touched a bit on that, and then we'll go into some of the research that's being done on it. Have we got any answers?
Participation is the only one so far. Sorry, myself and Stephen are having a conversation here on the side, and it was just like amazing just how much more there is to this than we initially thought. It's just like trying to answer this is a lot more difficult than we thought as well.
In 2 minutes, you made me broaden my view extensively.
Okay, well, I'm glad I did. Let's hope I can
Inclusion
continue.
and diversity made me think, okay, well, I will put it right where it is, like gay people and stuff like that. And then you say, okay, inclusion and diversity. Oh shit, there's loads more to do with it. Yep. So thank you for that, Kate.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Have we got any further answers, Claudia?
Yes, we have mutual understanding, differences in experiences, and courage to be different. Actually, some good answers.
Yeah, really good, really good. So an example, this is one of the biggest surveys that was ever done, research that was done, was Aristotle, which is Google's parent company, ran over 4 years a survey or a study looking at what makes teams perform better, what makes good teams. It was 50,000 people, 180 teams with over 100 variables. And what they ended up with was right up at the top, psychological safety is what makes teams perform better. Then you get dependability, structure and clarity, meaning, and then impact. Those are the 5 top, but way above all the others is psychological safety. And we'll be looking at what psychological safety is, because you cannot have an inclusive and diverse, well, you can have a diverse organization, but not an inclusive one without having the right level of psychological safety. Because what happens if you take, this is an example of a team structure, it's Belkin's team roles. Here I would also like to thank Chris, who's on the call, who's been helping me quite a lot with some good ideas here on how to illustrate this. What Google has done is they've taken the team roles, whatever they are. You can use Belkin's theory, but you can use other team role theories, and they've packed psychological safety around it. And they said that's what actually is the glue that makes it all sit together. One of the reasons why I say you can have diversity without psychological safety, but you can't have inclusion, is you can have as many diverse people around the table. You can have different ethnicities, different genders, different sexual orientations, different cultures, pack them all around the table. But if you only ever listen to someone who looks exactly like you and thinks exactly like you haven't achieved anything. You've achieved diversity, but you haven't actually achieved a functional team that's going to bring the best within that diversity. And that's why I speak about inclusion and diversity, and not the other way around, diversity and inclusion. So everyone should feel safe to speak up, listen up, contribute, and challenge. It doesn't mean that it's a free-for-all and everybody can behave in any way they like. You still need to respect people. One still needs to have an end decision maker. So there are also things that psychological safety is not, but it certainly does revolve around these 4 pillars, I would say. And I apologize for the different sizes. I don't seem to be managing PowerPoint very well, certainly not in different contexts. But anyway, each of these are supposed to be the same size. It comes from Timothy Clark, who studies psychological safety and has written quite a lot about it. He puts them into 4 stages. I tend to think that they're probably almost self-feeding and circular. He starts with the inclusion safety. You need to feel included in the team. You need to feel part of it. You need to be able to learn. You need learner safety. In other words, can I put my hand up and say I didn't understand? Give you an example. My daughter in primary school thought that she was never, ever going to be able to do maths. She got really bad maths marks. And that was mostly because her maths teacher, when she put her hand up and said, I don't understand, would say the same thing louder and slower, but it didn't make her feel any better or understand any better. Said daughter is currently writing her equivalent of A-levels in Switzerland and getting top marks in maths. She's changed school, but she's also changed maths teacher, and she feels far safer asking the questions and getting the answers in a way that she can understand them. Contributor safety, can I contribute, or am I going to be shouted down because it isn't interesting, or I'm not saying the right thing, or even am I just going to be ignored? Talked over. Oh, well, that's not particularly interesting. Let's move on to something else that somebody else says that's far more interesting. And then challenger safety. Can I go to anyone in the company, irrespective of where they sit on the hierarchical level, and with all due respect, say that I don't agree with them, that there's something wrong with the reasoning, with the process, with what the decision they're going to make, possibly the Toblerone, don't print the QR code right where the tab is, that sort of thing. So I'm challenging someone's decision. And am I safe to be able to do that? Or am I either going to never be promoted again, or end up having to find another job? So these are questions that people ask themselves, and we need to create that environment. Some other areas that one might want to explore, which diversity dimensions. We're very familiar, I think everybody's very familiar with gender diversity. We talk a lot about how many women in the workplace, how many women around the table, how do we promote women? I tend to find that that's a bit passé. First of all, the woman isn't the problem. It's the system. And the system isn't just about women, but it's about disabilities. It's about culture. it's about ethnicity, it's about all the other areas where one could have unconscious bias with regards to someone who isn't exactly the same as one is oneself. What about targets? What about quotas? What about data? What barriers are we putting in place? Thinking again back to the colorblind example that I gave. So some challenges for you, or some questions you can ask yourself. Where would you like to see the inclusion and diversity journey take you, wherever you happen to be in your organization? What can you do as an individual for this? And what do you actually need from others to be able to make this happen? And this will be very diverse depending on where you sit, what kind of organization, what you're doing. Are you the CEO, or are you just an employee? Or maybe you've got your own business. All of these things are going to have different answers for different people. So, as I stated in the beginning, diversity is a fact. Inclusion is an action. I'd say equity is a choice, and belonging is an outcome. So when you feel like you belong, then you've really achieved it. So to be truly diverse, one needs to be inclusive, and to be truly inclusive, one needs psychological safety to create the right environment where people can be themselves, speak up, feel heard, listen up, contribute, and challenge. And that's it. So thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to take questions.